Coming up now on the Business RadioX network, Miracles from Up for body, hair, and soul with your hosts, Kayla Womack and Ron Reynolds. Yes, and my name is Mark Bishop as a guest host today, and with the lovely hosts and good people of Miracles from Up. The show has been going now for only 2 episodes. It has introduced itself in the wonderful world of fashion and styling and hairdressing, and I'm referring to Kayla. Hi, Kayla.
Hello, good morning.
And Ronald. Hi, Ronald.
Hello, Mark.
They've asked me as a guest host today, which I'm very honored to be, and I appreciate that, on Tucson Business RadioX, and they are changing format with this show, which I think you're going to thoroughly enjoy, because they really care about the industry. From what I can understand, you know, the hairdressing industry, stylist industry, ever since COVID has hit, and, you know, maybe just before a little bit, things have been changing, and that's what they're going to discuss today. So, without further ado, guys, nice to see some rain, though, isn't it, Kayla?
Absolutely.
Tucson, I tell you what. Ron, let's start with you, mate. You're almost 64 years old, and you were born into the salon industry with your mum. She was a stylist.
Yes.
And so what are some of the things that you've witnessed in that amount of time?
I guess you could, boy, what a span. It goes back to powdered soaps, colored dye, or hair dye instead of hair color. Mm-hmm. We had segregated industry. The men had to go to barbershops and women went to salons. It was illegal for men to go to salons.
You're kidding.
Unless you were a male hairdresser.
Isn't that funny?
Isn't that funny?
So,
well, a little bit funny, but it's more or less racism, isn't it?
Actually, I think it was 1971 that they finally legalized unisex hair salons here in Arizona.
Oh, okay.
And that was a lead from a few other states, but it just took a while to go across the country. Mm-hmm. Mostly, probably 95% of the salons were commission salons. And now it's probably the other way around. 95% are booth renters, whereas everybody is self-employed in the salon.
Okay, we're going to talk commission sales reps, commission. Booths I'm used to with trade shows and small centers and all the rest of it. So do some clarification for me.
Well, in the past, you went to work for a salon. The salon owner owned the company, and she paid you a commission for every service you did.
So hairstylists what? Don't get a retainer, don't get a wage?
No. They might in the beginning. They may get an hourly wage or a stipend, and the salon pays for the receptionist up front. They do your booking. They do your laundry. They they provide the products of shampoos, conditioners, everything at the back bar, and then they also supply the color lines and everything like that you're doing. So
there's overheads and expenses right there.
Very much so, and they're paying all the overhead and expenses, air conditioning, everything else. Then they would have a retail area, and they would pay you a commission on the retail. So if you sold the retail for them, you got a commission on that as well. So
we're talking shampoos, conditioners, styling aids, all that type of thing. That's what we classify as the retail.
Yes.
All right. So a commission, I understand then. So the more you work your butt off, the more you're going to make.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
On that particular side of it.
But you also have a skilled, in most cases, you had a skilled business person that was running the salon. When you have the booth renter, these are people that are seeking independence, want to make their own hours, do their own thing, have their own business, and they pay for everything. They pay for their rent, they pay for their towel service, they pay for their color, they pay for their products, and all of that is the expense on them. Now, they keep 100% of whatever they generate, but they pay out.
So they're the boothies.
Yeah, so they're the boothies.
So it's like a business within a business.
Exactly.
So how do they pick a salon then? Why would they go to A salon versus B salon?
I'm going to toss that over to Kayla for a second, because that's a great question that we'd like to delve in today. But Kayla, being a stylist and a salon owner, I think it would be more apt for her to answer that question.
All right. Well, we're going to do that one with Kayla, but allowing you to close on what you were getting at, some of the things that you've witnessed that disturb you now.
Well, there's been a lot of great things that have happened in our industry over this time. There's been the advancement of technology and the products that we use and the colors and the chemical services that we do, the retail products. cutting edge pharmaceutical grade ingredients. Everything is done, whereas more people are coming in that have 1 or 2 or 3 doctorates in chemistry to make the products. So it's taken on a whole new era where sales and retail sales in our industry are over $100 billion now. Annually. That's a lot of money. So people are grabbing up, corporations are grabbing up that market. One of the other things we've seen in that whole transition is now 7 different corporations. We used to have every year there would be about 35 new product lines that came out. Back in the day, I can remember when Germac came out and everybody was so excited that we had this product. And then Paul Mitchell came in and started making a line of shampoos along with a couple of other companies and stuff. And look what it's done for them, over the years. But for the most part, there were a lot of independent people involved in the business of manufacturing and distributing. So when I was first coming in as a distributor, I would come into a salon. I might have to wait 30 minutes because there might already be 2 or 3 other sales reps ahead of me to talk to that salon.
Oh, boy.
And they represented a variety of companies. Probably here in Arizona, we had 25 distributors probably in this area alone in Arizona. Other states with bigger populations had even more than that. A distributor usually only had 1 or 2 lines, maybe 3 at the most. And they mastered those lines. They could tell you about every product. When a sales rep came in, he owned that line. He knew what he was talking about every product now.
Well, with only 3, so he should, I'll tell you.
Sure. Now we're looking at corporations that are taking over. There are, out of the top 182 lines that are out there, they're owned by 7 different corporations. People like L'Oreal, Estee Lauder, Procter & Gamble, all kinds of big multi-billion corporations who make their business in retail anyway. But now they're taking these products and they're putting them into retail stores. It makes it more difficult for the stylist to compete. So there's just been some real positives along the way. There's been some real negatives along the way. So that's suddenly swinging now to where those big corporations are not just buying up the product lines, they're buying up the distributors. So now people like myself who are independent manufacturers, independent distributors, we're very rare. I walk into a salon and during COVID, I'm often told, you're the first person we've seen since March. And the other sales reps aren't even going out, sort of thing. So people... I don't have competition in the independents anymore. My competitors are the major corporations.
Right.
And so it's lost that one-on-one touch. It's lost that I know everything about the product. These corporations have anywhere from 10 to 20,000 SKUs in their warehouses now. There's no way anybody can master that and know everything. So they've now gone to bringing in and making the acquaintance through the sales rep to the salon for the manufacturer. But then if you like the product, want to know about the line, you've got to go to a class. You pay to go to a class to learn about the product line. So all of this is different where if you like my products, you would book me into your salon and we would do a product knowledge class in the salon. You'd learn about my product and I would follow it up with more education. That's been gone. You either go to their place for a class or you don't get any education.
Well, that sounds to me like a lot of service is gone.
A lot of the service
That's
is gone.
not good. And Kayla, I mean, you've been in this industry for a lifetime as well. Your parents are stylists and own a salon before your father suddenly passed this year. Mom's full bore with it now. What are some of the major things that you've witnessed in your lifetime within the industry?
So my parents opened their salon when I was 7 years of age, and they had a commission-based salon. At one point in time, there were three manicurists and 8 hairdressers, very large salon. And I saw such a change. I would say I started the industry when it was still commission, and then things started landsliding in the opposite direction. What I witnessed is that most hairdressers started seeing the numbers and they started saying, okay, so this salon it's 60-40 or it's 62%, 38%. So they started seeing, well, I'm only making 38%. But what they didn't recognize is the fact that they all of a sudden wanted to become independent, be a booth renter. But most people wanted their independence as their own business owner and own entity without the responsibility. I think this is something that's been discussed across the board is we are an artistry, right? And so with a lot of artists, they have very amazing and imaginative creative minds, but what they're lacking is business skills. So what I witnessed is this huge slide after more and more hairdressers become hungry for more money. They wanted to become independent. They wanted to become a booth renter, but they never learned business skills. So yes, they saw number signs. Well, why would I give this cut to a business owner when I can make more money? But what happened is, I think this is very sad, but Ron and I looked over some statistics this week, and the average hairdresser right now is only making $25,000 a year on paper. I mean, that is ridiculous. That is way too low. How do you pay your bills, right? Look at the cost of living now.
Well, for such a demanding job.
Absolutely.
Long hours, standing on your feet all day.
Right.
Listening, you're basically a psychiatrist. You're listening to all the gripes they probably are from every client.
Yes.
All their family's business. And you've got to be polite. I gather you've got to be kind. You know, every time I go to your salon, they're beautiful, very kind, listenable. You know, I drive them nuts too. So when you think about it, 25 G's in this day and age is not a lot of bickies, is it?
It's not a lot. And I think the reason we're seeing that is because we've got these amazing artists, but they don't know how to manage their income. They don't know how to manage costs, pay themselves correctly. And so we're seeing a lack of leadership. Before you had this huge entity, right?
Right.
You were in a safety net. You had a salon that paid for taxes, brought in the best products. They gave you great education. And because of that leadership, we saw very skilled hairdressers that were able to raise prices every year, able to have raises. But now what's happened is that's gone. And so these people are so exhausted behind their chair being psychiatrists. The only prescriptions they're giving are products that, you invest in a product line. Let's say, for example, let's say I wanted to invest in Ron's product line. If I wanted to get a substantial amount, even just as an independent on my shelf, I would most likely have to invest $1,000 to $2,000 to get enough retail on the shelves to start selling. So a lot of hairdressers don't even have that in their savings. Okay. So the other thing is the discouragement came into play when so many of these product lines, like Ron is talking about, it used to be a lot more simplified back 20 years ago. Now we're seeing this mass production, right? So much competition. The reason why that has grown so much is we have media. We've got the internet. We have all this coverage. Knowledge is, you can get it quickly. But the problem with that is the bottom dollar is always the bottom line. So these companies come into salons, they're professional grade, like Ron was talking about, prescriptive base. But then we've got big corporations that come in and buy them out. What does that mean? That's taking away the cream and crop of the business. That's our butter, right? That's our extra income as a hairdresser. So when these big corporations buy them out, let's say Paul Mitchell, right? Let's see. Shaper Hairspray was one of them. Shaper Hairspray was huge in the salons way back when. Big corporation bought them out for millions. Then it no longer was a professional grade product. Now we see it in Costco and Target. So what does that do for us hairdressers? So we continue to invest in lines.
To me, it makes it look cheaper for number one.
It does, but see what they're selling.
But they're trying to get to the mass market, aren't they?
That's right.
But they're competing with you.
They're competing with us, but no longer. Because once that product is on the shelf of Costco or Amazon, guess what that does? We're cutting out the professionalism. So they've bought it because they're selling a professional name. What happens after they buy this, and a lot of the people that come into our salon don't understand that they're buying the name, but when it's bought out, they're actually cheapening the ingredients.
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
So people don't know that. So it's no longer considered a professional grade in our eyes. But what happens to us? Then now we have to go look for another professional line in hopes that they're not going to sell out as well. And we're going to be out that money in the long run. So this has been happening, I would say, the last 20 years.
Okay.
And it's very discouraging.
It's been
for
chipping
companies,
away all this time.
So hairdressers are making less and less.
So what I'm hearing is, from an outsider listening to this, what's the next move? Are these big corporations going to buy every salon there is?
Well, they are doing some of that already, but they're buying up the chains of salons.
All right. Well, we won't go into that right now, but I'm just concerned from what you tell. Kyla, Ron is a manufacturer. You're a stylist.
Right.
An educator. You know, do you agree with him that the industry is broken? And if so, what's the biggest single issue that you think is the cause?
I definitely see that it's broken, and it's been broken for a while. And that's why you see something like COVID hits, right? So when you've got a fracture in your foundation, all it takes is one hit to take down the entire industry. So what I'm seeing now is a lot of hairdressers I talk to have quit the industry. They're working at Target, Amazon, other jobs because maybe they were down 30% in sales, because we all know there's people that are scared to come in for their hair, right? So then they also got scared. It's the whole fear factor, and scrambled, gave up the 70% of their clientele they had still, gave them up.
So these we're talking now, these are the boothies?
Yep, these are the booth renters.
Okay.
And what I'm seeing now is they're now calling me miserable. They hate their jobs. They miss doing hair, but now they're starting over. So is there hope? There's always hope.
Well,
right?
you know why they're missing it terribly too? Because it's a profession.
It is.
It's an art.
It's an art.
And if you love your profession like an art, you know?
And no matter how much work it is, how taxing, you have to do what you love, or else you're never going to succeed in anything. So I do think that there's hope for this industry, and that's what Ron and I want to talk about today.
Well, we are. And what do you think the biggest reason is, Ron? I mean, you say the industry's broken. I mean, can you offer any evidence or statistical info that would substantiate your claims?
According to the Department of Labor, the first thing I would say is that I believe people have a lack of education of business skills. That is the number one thing. You think, as Kayla said, you see the money, and generating money is great if you're working in a salon that knows how to generate money. But once you go out and you're on your own, the number one thing I see is I don't know how to market myself. I don't know. Today, on a post of a page with 110,000 stylists, somebody said, what's the one thing that you missed from school that you didn't get in school that they didn't teach you in school? There were a lot of thirds about shortcuts and long cuts and all these different things, but 30% of the people that posted on there said they should have taught us business skills.
30%?
A third of the people on there were saying...
Well, give me an idea of how many stylists then qualified are there throughout America, just as an example.
Well, there's 700, and according to the Department of Labor, there was 722,000 stylists working last year. And out of that, 10% make over $50,000.
Okay, so what you're saying is it's all very well to go and get your diploma from these schools. I've always been sus with some of these schools, by the way, but who am I to know anything about it? There's just certain intuition things. You know, I can't start a salon anymore. I can't do this. I might as well start a school. That type of thing, you know what I mean? Would-be's if could-be's, because there has-beens. But the reality is, let's say it's a good school. They put everything into it. They really care about their students. But all they've done is taught how to do it, the art. But I haven't taught you how to survive.
They don't do even that. And I'm not picking, there's very few schools that even teach you the art, teach you how to do hair color, bleaching, that sort of thing. A school is there to get you licensed, and they're there to get you to pass your state board. That's
it
what
sounds
they
like
do.
real estate, honestly. Yeah.
That's
And
it.
so...
Then you flounder.
Well, the thing is this, you know, you got to get a darn license, which is a game. Then you go and join a brokerage. And as an old ex-broker myself in Australia and being a realtor and all the rest of it, but that wasn't my passion, the reality is this. You don't learn anything till you get with a good broker.
Right.
Until you get with a good, station, per se, you don't learn anything. So, yeah, similar.
Well, that's one of the biggest things. So they're going out and thinking they're going to start this big business. And so they look and they kind of calculate, okay, if I get an 8-chair salon and I charge $150 a week, each chair is worth $600 a month. I can cover my rent, and but then they don't really calculate that I'm going to be doing the laundry for everybody. You know, I'm going to be doing the towels. I'm going to be, unless it's a suite rental. And so the biggest thing I see, and you ask about statistics, is the mean average income in our industry is $31,000. That's taking everybody together, putting those 722,000 incomes together, The middle of it is the average is about $31,000. But if you go by the median, which is taking everybody and lining them out from people that are making $8 an hour all the way up to a couple of $100,000 a year, you come out with an income that's $26,090. That's from the Department of Labor. That's 100. If you're a single family, if you're a mom, and 35% of stylists are single moms, they're living on $110 less than the poverty level in our country.
Yep.
Well, who'd want to get into the industry?
Well, that's what's happening. Talking about opportunity, the Department of Labor says there's going to be a demand for 140,000 more stylists over the next 10 years than there are now, but that's not going to happen. They're predicting that 1%, we will have 1% less stylists over the next 10 years in the business because they're leaving.
Yep.
And that's why I'm looking at this. This is broken. And many top stylists who are very successful, or salon owners who are very successful, they could sit there and go, yeah, it's broken. What about it? But they're upset about it too. They're like, our industry is going to pot here, and it's broken, and it's hurtful for the whole industry. Those that are passionate about the industry are seeing it as hurtful for the entire industry. So.
Speaking of pot, see how it got legalized on the weekend, Kayla? You know,
I sure did. I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw lines of people
now
standing
a couple
outside
of them
dispensaries.
who think they were God's answer to the stuff, and thousands of clients and all the rest of it who didn't think they needed any marketing or support or anything else. They're going to find now that they've got quite a few to compete against.
Exactly.
You're listening to Miracles from Up on the Business RadioX network with Kayla Womack and Ron Reynolds. Or Ronald Reynolds, if you like. You've been special.
Ronnie boy.
Call him anything. Just don't call him late for dinner. I know that. You've been making specialized hair products for the salon industry since way back in, 96? Yeah. You hold 2 patents for hair growth and 2 patents for eyelash growth.
Yes.
That's interesting. I would think that it would be easy for you to get your products into salons because you do it physically and you care and you teach and you do all this jazz at the same time, and you drive all across the country to do this, living in motels and back of your car, God knows what. Is that the case? And if so, why not?
Boy, this goes back to what Kayla was just saying. We were talking about people have moved away from retail in the salon business. I would say more than 60, 70% don't even retail anything in their salon. A lot of them, out of that 60 or 70%, I'd say about 30% go down and buy inferior products at a place to use cheaper hairsprays, cheaper shampoos.
Well, but because life has become tougher with dollars, and you look for that. I mean, you go into Safeway and you're looking for shampoos that one can afford.
Well, you're looking at the retail. I'm talking about the stylists. The stylists are doing that. They're going and buying cheap stuff at different stores and using it. And
that's not a good thing.
No.
So the poor mug sitting in the chair like me wouldn't have a clue.
Right. So And what it does is it brings down the income. Going back to those incomes a minute ago, 10% of our industry makes $8 an hour. 10%.
It's ridiculous.
35% of our industry only makes $10 an hour. And this is shocking to people that are probably listening today, stylists that are out there making a good income. I posted that we were going to be talking about some of this. And I got some pushback from successful stylists telling me, "No, you're crazy. That's not how it is." I mean, because I make blank, and I'm like, "You're in the upper 10%."
Yeah, right.
Yep.
But I had a lot of people that are in the middle that were saying, "Well, here's the problems that we have. We're competing with this, the internet and everything else, and the corporations taking over the businesses and everything else." When I started in the industry, a very good salon right here in Tucson, and now products where they retailed at $5. Now they retail at $25, the same product. Okay, so take that into consideration of how much, you're paying for the product and everything else, but they carried $30,000 worth of product on their shelves to retail.
Yeah, that's a lot. And you have to buy that up front, don't you?
Yeah, they do.
Yes, you do.
But they moved it every month.
Oh.
They moved it every month. Now, this is before the corporations took over.
Okay.
But what we have here is we have now, when you walk into a booth renter salon, they have no retail, and they're not really interested in getting involved in retail because they've made up their mind that you can't retail in this business. But that salon and several others backed them up on this over the years. if you're a stylist, you should sell enough retail to pay your rent and to pay your electrical bills and your utilities, and pay for a 3-week vacation every year for yourselves, and a nice vacation. And those salons go to exotic islands. They do trips all over the world, and those salons really do. Now, I will tell you personally that I know people that take 4 or 5 weeks vacation a year, and they retail at least $1,000 a week of product, and they're just one person in a salon, in a booth rental, or in a suite rental. So now when I go around, I've got to go fishing for a lot of people to find somebody that wants to retail. That's one of the biggest problems.
Caleb, based on what he's saying, I know that you go through a lot of up products in your salon, Kurt and Kwana, here in Tucson. If the industry is broken, how does your salon retail so much when others don't? I mean, is there a formula or a secret?
I honestly think it's because of the fact that early on I was very involved in education. I have a fantastic foundation with 2 parents that were very successful hairdressers in the salon industry for almost 40 years, which is something unheard of now. Most people give up at about year 20 or less. I've been in over 20 years now, and I think the difference is when I have someone in my chair, I do not push sales to be uncomfortable. Okay, that is the last thing I do. I avoid that at all costs. But what I do is I educate them. I educate them on what their hair needs. And that it's kind of like I used to work for a chiropractor. People would come in and get their back fixed, and he would say to them, and I would tell them, if you don't do these exercises on your own time, we're only going to do so much, okay? We can only help you so much. These exercises are about 60 to 70% of your recovery.
Yeah, okay.
Your adjustment is 30. It's the same thing. I can make your hair beautiful, but how often are you coming to see me?
Well, hair is a growing thing.
Right?
It needs to be really looked after.
Yeah.
Not just cleaned and washed, but supported and nourished, right?
So I educate them on that. I say, look, you want your beautiful red to stay in? You can't go buy Suave shampoo that's stripping out all the red pigmentation.
Okay.
Okay. So that's where I come in and I educate them and I say, if you really want this guaranteed color, you've got to buy these professional products. I think hairdressers are avoiding it. They're just completely avoiding it.
Maybe they're scared.
They're scared. It's competition they don't want to deal with. So instead, what they're seeing is a larger turnover because Sally comes into their chair and they say, well, my red hair color doesn't stay. It's fading out in 3 weeks. So instead of that hairdresser grabbing them, keeping them, educating them, they don't say anything. And then Sally goes to someone else, goes to Joe Schmo down the street for her hair, right?
Yes.
So then they're seeing more turnover as well because they're not preserving what they have there. So that's what we do in our salon. We're constantly educating our clients. And we also say, you know what, I talk to my clients. I say, well, what can you afford? What can you afford? Because I'm not here to pick pockets, right?
Right.
I'm here for your betterment. What can you do? And then I will find a prescriptive basis for them. And I believe that that's why we've been successful in retail. I mean,
and it's probably
Ron,
why you've been successful, though, with your clients for many years that stay loyal because you care so deeply about keeping them as an ongoing client. You might as well do the right thing in the first place.
Exactly.
And tell them up front. But do the right thing. Well, you've both touched on several issues that seem to be centered around a lack of education. Either the stylists themselves don't seek it, or the industry just doesn't offer it. So, which one is the case, Kayla? Do you think? Both.
I really think it's both. Yeah, absolutely, it's both.
Ron, anything to add to that before we take a break?
Yeah, it's a marriage that's fractured in a lot of ways, and both sides are to blame, and they've drifted apart. And how do you bring them back together? And I think that's how we're looking at it is how do we get the industry, the manufacturer, the stylist back together on a basis that you're both benefiting from it. And now with the big corporations being run like corporations, it's really hard to do. I'll just add one thing about just before we get into the break. Just going back to what Kayla said, it's also how to price yourself. People price themselves by what the person in the chair next to them is pricing. So you come out of school, you end up giving away a lot of work because it's family and friends and you start off cheap, and then you never grow your pricing up. So then when you finally get in a salon, it's kind of like, hey, what do you charge for that? Well, that's what they charge. But you know what? Maybe they don't have a brand new car outside that you just bought for your graduation present or something else. You know, maybe they've got a cheaper mortgage, whatever. You have to go, if you're an independent contractor, you have to set your price by what you need to survive and thrive. And I say thrive because this is an industry that easily pays a six-figure income, easily. I have people that work 4-day weeks and make $250,000 a year.
Good Lord.
But they know.
Doesn't seem fair, does it?
Yeah.
No.
So how are we going from $250,000 down to $8 an hour? It's several potholes that we're running into that are turning into sinkholes. And that's the saddest part of this industry. And we want people to make a great living because there's so much here.
Well, I tell you what, it's almost sounding like you're going to have a massive town hall in different cities across America and invite everybody.
It may be the way it has to go, but getting them there is
another thing. Interest.
So,
you're listening to Miracles from Up on Tucson Business Radio X with your host, Mark Bishop, and more importantly, Kyla Womack and Ronald Reynolds. Now, why don't you guys talk about Up? Well, I've had other people tell me your darn products are so good. Why?
Well, I think number one is we don't have products just to have products. We are a small line. We don't even make shampoos except for our patented hair growth system, which is more for your scalp than it is for the hair. We are about taking something in a need in the industry and making it the best it can be. We do not go out and just produce something and run it out. First of all, I can't take it in the market if I don't like it myself. If I'm not happy with the results of what I'm getting, I don't want to produce it. But then there's the competition factor. So I need stylists to test these products, tell me what it needs to be added or what needs to be taken out. And we test things usually for about 3 years. Kayla's known me a long time.
Yep.
And we have 12 products in our line, and that's it. After 26 years, we still only have 12 products.
Well, you know why?
You specialize in that then and you don't set your eyes.
We're very specialized. The second,
Keep it simple, stupid.
yes. Once we get about 90% or better approval from those very rigid stylists, we take it to the next level of getting it into the salons and supporting it with education. And we're very much, our focus is always not only on the performance of the product, but how it leaves the integrity of the hair. And we don't add harsh chemicals like alcohol to almost any of our products. We don't use resins. We have hair that is very healthy when it's over, a scalp that's very healthy. And we like it that you can run your fingers through the hair and not break your hair off and that sort of thing. And Kayla's Salon moves a lot of product for us, and they're. I wish every salon was like the Kurt and Kwana Salon. I'd be a very wealthy man if that was the case. But we're
trying.
They do a great service to their customer with our products, and we have volumizers that we specialize in fine, thin, and thinning hair. We have volumizers that make you look like you have 45% more volume, so you almost look like you have twice as much hair when you're done.
Wow!
And they last until you shampoo them out. And they have great memory. You can just reheat them in the morning, and they just swell everything back up.
Sounds marvelous. Where can people visit? You've got a site. People can look at these products?
TheBeautyCartel.com is our site, and you can see all of our products there and explanations and so on. Fabulous. Educational videos, that sort of thing.
And by the way, listeners, if you'd like to comment or you don't agree with anything, that's good. This show is going to get better and better. Lots of guests are coming on when they realize the value of being on it and don't think they don't need it. So, you could get an invite. But more importantly, if you've got any comments, send them to Ron. Email to Ron Reynolds. What's that address?
RonBeautyCartel@gmail. RonBeautyCartel@gmail.
Okay, and they'd love to get your feedback on it. Now, Ron, the statistics you gave, it shows an extreme income gap between the top 10% of a stylist and the bottom 50%. You travel the entire country calling on salons and doing ride-alongs with reps, Is it a regional thing that some areas are more affluent, so therefore the stylists in those areas make more money?
Again, statistics never lie. There's an old thing in business, and I was in international franchising, lived in 5 different countries setting up franchises, and there's a business rule that the numbers never lie. And so when I first heard about this discrepancy and I heard people telling me what they make, I had thought, well, it's got to be a regional thing. It's got to be where they live and the cost of living, that sort of thing.
Right.
And it turns out it's really not. You can go to Washington, D.C. That's the highest income in the country for a stylist, but it's only about 10 to 12% higher than the other regions. Boston, Massachusetts area, that's kind of a high area. But you know where the high area is? Wyoming, the least populated state in the union, pretty much, or one of them.
Interesting. Why is that? I mean,
well, because people there run a business. Is my thinking is they run a business like a business. They're hardworking. Number one, ranchers, farmers, and things like that.
Salt of the earth type.
Salt of the earth. They show up for work every day, and that is a problem in our industry as well. As people don't, they get down.
This industry isn't rife with drugs, is it? Like the entertainment industry?
No, maybe back in the 70s.
In the
and
70s,
80s,
stylists, I think of shampoo with Beatty, you know what I mean?
Oh, my goodness.
But it's not any more populated in that than any other industry, and pretty much they're all self-employed now and having to make income.
There you go.
Right.
So, well, Kyla, as a successful stylist, and you're one of the best there is, what advice would you have to a stylist who's coming out of school, or someone who just doesn't know why, they aren't making any money? I mean, how should they hit the restart button? What can they do?
Well, this is the really hard thing is my daughter, for example, she will be graduating school soon. And to be honest with you, I really don't know how she'd be making it without myself and my mom mentoring her. I have another friend, her daughter wants to move back from Seattle, Washington, because she can't make it either. She graduated beauty school, doesn't even know where to start. What's happening is there's no motivation in salons anymore, because what would motivate me when I'm independent to bring up a new hairstylist if I'm not making something off of them, correct? So why would I want to take endless hours mentoring someone and building them up if I don't gain from it? So I think I've been talking about this. It's a lack of leadership. People have become very selfish and very selfishly driven in this industry. So if you don't find, as a new stylist, if you don't find a commissioned salon that's willing to mentor you and take you on as an assistant to pay you an hourly wage, so at least you've got some security while you're building, you're floundering. I don't know how people go out. How would I go afford $150 a week if I don't have one client? How do I afford that,
I tell you what, I'm sorry I'm laughing, but this absolutely reminds me so much so as a young man going out into my industry in Australia, as a young announcer, jock, whatever you want to call it, between my car payments and the rent was more than I was getting.
Absolutely.
I had to play two-up, or play pool for money to survive.
Right.
Because you got nothing. And you lived in caravans without air conditioning in the heat or the outback somewhere till you get to Cap City. And, you've got to earn your stripes. You've got to.
That's right.
But you've got to survive on the way through.
Yep.
And these poor devils you're talking about, I don't know how they're doing. No wonder they're leaving the industry.
Right.
Maybe, is there such a thing as co-op in your game? Is there a chance that X amount of stylists could maybe run salons together?
No.
Okay.
I don't think that's an option at all.
It doesn't work.
It'd be like
okay.
herding cats.
It sure would be.
Meow.
Remember, you're dealing with haughty, independent artists with their own thinking.
Yeah.
You're dealing with a very different group of people, and that's something Ron and I have noticed. It's funny because my tax attorney told me one time, he said, he said to me, I don't meet many hairdressers like you that have a business sense. You're very across the board, very balanced. He's like, you're the first person I haven't had to fix your books. Where most of them, he's like, it's a nightmare.
Well, it almost sounds like to me, you guys who aren't then qualified, if they haven't got a clue how to run a business and haven't been trained, they're going to have to now fork out to bring somebody in that can. Yes. There's another overhead, another expense.
Right.
Okay, you don't need that.
Let me real quickly just kind of go back to what you asked Kayla there. If I was a student coming out of school, the first thing I would do is in school, I would attend every educational class outside. If I don't care if I have to wash windows or go to the car wash and wash cars, whatever, I would like to make, and most manufacturers who are putting on educational shows and distributors will give students huge discount because they want to earn your trust and your business when you graduate.
Okay.
So the first thing is I would attend every class, cutting class, color class, even if I don't understand, and I would stay after and ask specific questions to the things I don't understand.
Yes, but is that too expensive to do that?
No, it's not very expensive at all.
Okay,
So
all right.
maybe $20 here or $50 here to go to a class like that. And hands-on cutting classes are about $125, or for a student, they're about $75 to $80.
Where does the student get the bread to do this?
Well, they they get tips when they're in school, but they can work outside of school. Many hairdressers work outside of school.
Okay.
So while they're going that,
It just sounds like a lot of money to me,
yeah,
you know.
The second thing is I would go find a salon where it's very successful and offer my ask for to be an intern and offer my services a couple hours a day, learning and observing how a successful salon and asking a lot of questions
See, that's
about
smart. That's smart. But this free bit, I don't know, man. I can't get interns for my company.
Yeah.
And I've tried universities and everything, and they want to be paid these days.
You know what? That right there is the problem.
They want to be paid. So much for learning. I mean, when I was a kid, I did everything he said for Nix.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because you've got to learn your craft and learn more. And if you can work with super people who know what they're doing and who can teach you little tricks and just expedite your career, why wouldn't you do that? You know?
It's so true. So you've got a lot of people that are going into college, coming out with anywhere from $100,000 to $300,000 in student debt. Yet you have an industry like ours where it's sure you're going to pay $25,000 to go to school, okay? But they're not even willing to intern for free, like you said. There's a different mentality shift, and I think that is what we really have to deal with right now. There's a mentality shift, and there's going to be very few that will be successful in any one given business like yours or ours. It has to be the people that are hungry for it. So
like
if it's
anything.
truly not their passion, they're going to falter. They'll stick with it maybe a year,
Right.
if not less,
It's
right?
the passion that gets you through, isn't it?
Yeah,
It is.
And I mean, you work full-time, Kayla, behind the chair. You're a mom. You're a singer, songwriter, an artist as well. You've put your work into galleries. You're that good as an artist. You're gifted, very gifted. You're very blessed. And you're involved in your church in a busy way. I mean, is there a key to balancing your life and not letting it interfere with your salon business?
I think the biggest thing is that any one person, no matter how much you love the industry you're in, even if you're not good at something, have an outlet. Have something to reinvigorate you. That's why I dabble in so many different things, because it's keeping that balance that keeps you from burning out in any one area, right? It's like the whole saying, you put your eggs all in one basket. So I give my all to everything that I do, but I truly believe that all those little outlets I have keep me well saturated and well rounded as a person. And that's why I haven't burnt out in this industry.
Well,
I've been in it 20 years, and I know
That's
that's
amazing.
why I continue to love it, because I give myself outlets so that I don't burn out. I think that's really important.
You've
as
got to
people.
have releases.
We have to have
You
that.
remind me of a dear friend of mine in Melbourne, Australia. When I was going to night school, learning my career, starting at school to do radio, he became a hairstylist. He loved it. He was very good, but he went nuts. He literally went insane.
Yeah.
You know, by doing,
I don't wanna do that.
By doing the job.
It's
he
true.
worked long hours.
Yes.
By the time Sunday came, he just drank all day to be able to try and turn off. And Monday it was on again.
And that's not the outlet you want to have,
Starting to
right?
crows, I
So
tell
it's
you
having
what.
healthy outlets.
That's exactly what you've got to do. I hope you got a tip out of that, listeners, okay? Believe me, Kayla knows what she's talking about. Ron, you've had a chance to live in many other countries, start up new franchises. Is the problem the same in all countries, and are the solutions the same?
I would say yes to both of those questions. The problems are somewhat generational. Part of it, too, is that in the lifetime that I've been in this business, and then I left it for 12 years to go into international franchising, and it brought me back, is that the people that are my age or maybe 10 years younger, are now retiring, and we got to live through the glory years of this. The big parties, the big shows, the big amazing things. We had distributors that would bring in bands. We'd do a 3-day show, and they'd bring in bands like ZZ Top and just huge games.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
It was. And when you talked about the drugs, they were there too. But the stylists liked to party. But there was just this glory years of just amazing money to be made. And remember then, everything was cheaper too. And, you're doing a lot cheaper services, but you did them well, and you were at the top of your field. Now, the glory years, Kayla's generation, because she grew up in the salons, and we had...
and I got to witness that.
She got to witness it because she was growing up in it and travel and stuff with her family, or her parents. That end, they remember it, and they're seeing the breakdown. And then there's a new generation that never knew. They're the $10, $15 an hour stylist right now because they don't know
it's unfortunate
that you can make that money. And that's universal across the world.
Really?
And so I was teaching a class to 300 students recently, and I said, how many of you are going to probably think you can make about $35,000 a year out of this industry? And I'd say 90% of the hands went up. I mean, everybody. And then as I said, okay, how about 50,000? And maybe 3 or 4% of the hands went up. And I said, how about 80,000? And a couple of hands went up. And then I said, how about $100,000 a year? And not one hand went up. We're now a generation that it's kind of like when you throw the frog into a bucket and it's swimming around having a great time, and then you start to turn the fire up underneath it. It doesn't know it's burning to death. It doesn't know it's about to boil. And that's where we're at with this generation. They don't know what the good times were.
No, they don't.
They don't know what the big money's are. And the money is still there. But you've got to change your way of thinking. You've got to reinvent yourself, and you've got to reinvent the industry that you can control. And they have a lot of power. The stylists have a lot of power with the manufacturers. They just don't exercise it. One of the things that I saw when I was younger, we used to have lobby groups. The stylists pulled their money together.
I was just thinking, hey, with no stylists, you've got no products. You've got no big corporation manufacturers.
Right. And
who are they going to sell it to?
Exactly. You were asking about co-oping, but we had lobbyists. And if there was a problem with the state legislature,
right,
we sent lobbyists.
Wow, what a different industry, eh?
That doesn't exist anymore.
Tell you what. Well, in your bio, Ron, that I read, you developed a mantra that you used, to reach the success that you had, eventually to create patented products and share with the listeners why you feel it can help them. Please.
I am probably just like anybody else. I spent my lifetime thought about going to school, and then I realized I had no artistic ability. And you have to be an artist.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, why weren't you a stylist,
Well, back then, too, I could only do men's hair, and I wanted to do women's hair.
He has 2 left feet for hands, that's why.
This is true.
You don't do men's hair. That little, what's it called, that sausage thing outside the building, red and white,
I would have left a lot of bare spots on scalps.
Right.
Drop my clippers again. But
can I sue you? Can you sue a hairstylist?
Yeah, it's hard to get for physical damage. You can. It's really hard if you don't like your haircut.
If you cut their earlobe off, yes.
Yeah, or you burn their scalp with something.
Right.
You have to have liability insurance for that. But the mantra I learned is when I was in sales, and companies would send in top-notch people like Zig Ziglar and stuff to train us. And one of them said something, and I was a young man that just was selling, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was like these $10 an hour people, but back then the
$10 was good.
$10 an hour would be great. I was at $1.46 an hour.
Oh my God!
So
he doesn't look 122.
I know, right?
But they just said, the number one thing is you've got to win the trust of the customer, and you do that by giving them the truth in information. And so if you don't know the answer to something, say, I don't know, but let me go find out for you. And that became my mantra is, I don't know, but let me find out for you. And even today,
that's right.
People ask me things, I'm like, I don't know, but let me find that out. When I went into manufacturing, it was the same thing. I was terrified of doing anything manufacturing-wise. I was working with a manufacturer, and he gave me this book, and it was on chemistry. Well, I am like stylist in a lot of ways. I don't like to do math and chemistry. I was failing after just about 4 weeks in the class, and I said, I've got to get out of here before I get an F, and I went into a different class. I said, what am I supposed to do with this? He said, well, now that you're back in the business, the stylists are a lot smarter. They want to know what's in the product. They want to know why it works, how it works. They used to just take your word for it. Now you have to
prove it.
You have to prove it.
Well, that's good.
I said, I'm a great salesman. Don't worry. I went into that salon with him, and we started talking about his products, and she looked at me and goes, what makes it work? And I just kind of
froze.
So I took that book, I started studying things, and then it came time that there was a need in the market for something. And I was trying to find out what product was on the market that did that, and there wasn't one out there. So I worked with a chemist for 2.5 years to figure out how to do this product, and we finally did it.
You put your own money into it. You put your money where your mouth is.
Exactly.
Well done.
And
2.5 years. That's not cheap.
The back of his head used to be bald,
yes.
But because of his product, look at his hair's back.
You had a landing strip for mosquitoes, did you?
Yeah, I did.
He didn't even know it either.
I didn't even know it. Men never look at their
You
head.
got a full head of hair now, baby.
Well, that was, and when my wife said, you need to make something now that'll grow my hair back, and I was like, way over my pay grade. And
here he is.
And that's 7 years of research and doing it. We came up with something that worked, and then we applied for patents, and 5 years later we got patents.
That's great.
So,
well, we've got to get it across America and overseas.
Yeah.
That's what we've got to do. Limited time left with miracles from up on this episode, but a couple of last questions. Kayla, do you feel that the industry can stop its downturn? And what are a few keys to the solution? If you could wave the magic wand,
yes.
1, 2, 3, bang, what would you do?
All right. I really do. Like I said, I'm an optimist at heart, okay? And I meet people every day that are upcoming in this industry or people that are in this industry. And I believe the heart of the matter is that if we bind together, that's why Ron and I, when we educate, we like to give people back their value. I truly think that it starts there. I think hairdressers, if they could find their value once again, know what they're worth, and start acting that way and reunify one another. Salons used to be very unified. If we get our heads back together and stop acting selfishly and so independently and help each other out, I think we can start seeing a difference. For me, it's like you said, you want to intern people, right? I have a heart for young people. I have a heart to get people started, and I know Ron does too. And so if that means I have to give a little bit of myself for free, if that repays something for me and my own self-worth to mentor my daughter or another girl like her who's coming out as a newbie, that's what I want to see. I do believe this industry can take a turn. I think we just have to find the right key that fits. And I think we're just right on top of it. And that is why Ron and I haven't given up, because we do see that potential is there. And I think that it's going to get to a place where, here's something great. When COVID hit and our salon had to close for 6 weeks, I felt more appreciated by my clients than I had felt in years.
Yeah, right. They took you for granted.
They truly valued what I gave them. And I don't think they realized we all grow calloused over time, and we all forget the intricate pieces that everyone gives us in our life, right? The server at the restaurant, the hairdresser that combs your hair.
Yep.
You, Mark, you are someone that started this business in RadioX, and you help people build their clientele, build their industries.
Well, I work hard for small business. I believe they are the backbone of, in Australia, America, I don't care where the devil you live. The small business is the backbone of a country. And, it's all very well for corporates. Some of them get more money for lunch and booze nights than somebody earns in a year.
Right.
And what I hate is when they go overseas, Jazz, and don't pay any tax. Oh, that upsets me. I tell you, thousands on the streets. We got an Aussie pie guy. I interviewed him the other day. He's from Australia, and he lives in LA. And he specializes now in Australian sausage rolls and meat pies, and they're divine, right? Like American hot dogs, you go to the football or anything. And the bottom line is he serves Skid Row, for free.
Yeah.
He does that to help because he cares.
Right.
But he also, he's in business, so he has to make some money. And he sells to Aussies all across the country in America because we miss our meat pies and sausage rolls and our lamingtons.
I love
and a few other things. Guys, you both want to give back to this industry. And you want to make it free or the least expensive to people as possible. In closing, what are some of the things that you'd like to do to help those that are struggling in the industry?
I'd say the first thing is we want to give you our knowledge and our experience, And like I said, if we don't know the answer, as my mantra is, let me get back to you on it and let me find out.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily for both of us, we have surrounded ourselves with a lot of very successful stylists and salons around Kayla through her education and me through the manufacturing. I've met wonderful people. One of them is going to be our next guest, hopefully either on the 8th of February or the following 8th of March. And she changed her career at 50 years old. She retired and hated retirement, came back out, and she went through beauty school and all through beauty school.
Good on her. Yeah. You're not finished. I mean, that's young.
Yes.
50.
And 6 years later, she's got a beautiful salon in Northwest Phoenix, and she's a commissioned salon, and she has 3 people in her salon that make over $100,000 a year.
Fair income.
And
wow.
So, she's now building her second salon up in
You want to
Sedona.
mention it? Everybody's going to rush to get a job there, you know?
Her name is Miss Candie Walter at Design Me Salon up there. And she's opening a new salon up in Sedona, a second salon, and building a second home up there.
I might have to go
Yeah, so
live in Sedona part-time and work for Candie.
But
Same.
we want to bring this education free. We want people to listen to these broadcasts. We want to bring people who are willing to share because they want to see the industry turn around.
Okay,
too.
so you want good feedback
Yes.
and open discussion. Then listen, we can have phones in and talk to people if you like. Here's the deal. The show is going to stay permanently on TucsonBusinessRadioX.com, www.TucsonBusinessRadioX.com. Photos of the guys, Kayla, and their guests as they come on board. And the shows stay there, infinitum. Secondly, I put them out on social media all over the place as much as I can on major platforms. You're doing it, Ron,
Yes.
with your good boys over there, the Misfits.
The Misfit Mafia.
The Misfit Mafia, what a name. But they're pretty good, I'll give them that, and they're very affordable.
Yes.
And I'm looking forward to working with Jared and so on, and the team. And they put your shows out. So where can the listeners find you other than here or the channel or you know, can they tune into their Facebook? Or?
We have now a Facebook page, and it is Miracles from Up. So if they go to Miracles from Up, all of this will start to get posted on there, and they can find the links to the shows and
That's
everything
great.
else.
So they're going to archive the shows for you.
Exactly.
That's terrific. And then people can email you and ring. And then once we get into video soon, they'll also be able to. We can do our shows live on that as well. We'll live stream videos as well. So that'll be good.
We want to have people that do marketing on this show for the salon industry. We want you social media.
That would be very good.
Everything, yes.
To help the newbie starting out and to do the others and at a discounted rate so that they can afford it. That's a smart move on the behalf of the Misfits.
Yes.
And it's a smart move on behalf of yourself, Miracles from Up, caring for the industry. Thanks, guys. Great show. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you for inviting me. I enjoyed it.
We thank you,
Good.
Mark.
Thanks, Mark, for being, and thank you for what you do.
Yes.
Well, I'm grateful to have had a great career, and I came out of retirement. I came out of retirement to do this, and I love it. It's my wheelhouse, and you can't play golf 7 days a week, trust me.
Especially on days like today.
Not on today's like today. First time we've had some rain for wherever you're listening around the world, because we do have a global reach.
All of us Arizonans are...
Tucson, yeah, we're happy. We got
we're
rain.
dancing.
The desert is beautiful when it rains. It blooms. It's not all what you think it is when you see on movies. You got to come to Tucson and southern Arizona to appreciate its total spectrum. It's beautiful. Kayla, thank you. Kayla Womack and
you.
Ronald Reynolds. Miracles from Up, ladies and gentlemen, on TucsonBusinessRadioX.com. Join us again for another informative and interesting Miracles from Up for body, hair, and soul on the Business Radio X network.